Very good evening to you. Thanks for joining us on the Tuesday edition of the show. I'm Yemi Adebayo. Well, tonight on the show, we will be talking about the World Cup. As a matter of fact, it's all about the World Cup. We're telling you about the heroics of Lionel Messi-led Argentina team coming back from 2 goals down to defeat the Pharaohs of Egypt. We'll also be talking about the game that has just started in a few minutes, talking about Colombia and Switzerland. We will also tell you what has happened over the weekend, and of course, yesterday. Teams have progressed into the quarterfinal of the World Cup. Only one more slot left, and it will be decided. Of course, we'll know that team in less than 2 hours. That's if it doesn't extend beyond regulation time. That's the outlook of the show. Sit back, relax, even as we take you on a trip across the money spinning world of sports. Let me quickly introduce our guest in the Lagos studio. Kende is joining us now. Greetings to you, Kende. Thanks for finding time to be with us on the show.
Thank you so much. Good to be here. And you said that in fact it's about the World Cup. I think the World Cup is worthy, to take as long to take every discussion right now. When they say football is the mother of all sport or father of all sport, when they say the World Cup is the biggest sporting mundial or biggest sporting showcase in the world, I think this is just the answer to it. The entire sport family are getting involved one way or the other with the World Cup, even as they have their own competitions ongoing. The FIFA Senior Men's World Cup is special, and we're seeing that again.
All right, we are. Let's go into that segment where all we do is talk about the World Cup. All right, so let's talk about what everybody has been talking about. Lionel Messi leading his Argentina side to the quarterfinal of the World Cup, despite being 2 goals down against the Pharaohs of Egypt. Kane Idris, I want to get your thoughts on that game. It brings to 4 again. I'm very sure I'm going to ask our next guest this question again. It brings to 4 the discussion, the talks about tactical naivety, inability to close out games for African teams. Second time an African team is leading against the top side 2-0 and they let it slip. But I want to get your thoughts. Was it because the Argentines were dominant? Do you think Egypt were a bit naive? Is it a combination of the two factors?
Maybe a combination of the two factors, but I'll go with the naivety. Now, let me liken it to the game of tennis. When you're talking of the Grand Slams, the 4 Grand Slams in a year, go and check out. It's the Grand Slams that have best of 5 for men. You see those promising, fantastic tennis player, probably young, or he has been there in and around and all of that. One way the top guys usually take them out is take the game all the way to either the 4th set or the 5th set. By then, your mentality, your psyche, starts to wear out. Those mental toughness starts to wear out gradually. So the moment you hit second game, sometimes you even find this, young up and coming, promising, winning first 2 sets, and then they lose the next 3 sets because by the 3rd set, these guys are fresher. They understand. They've been here. They know what to do. They know that you just have to keep your focus. No way you lose focus all the way till it's ended. And then they hit the 4th set winning, hit the 5th set winning. And that's the story of Africans, not just Senegal, not just Egypt, but so many. See, you can talk about Cape Verde, you can talk about Congo. As much as we hail them, it has a lot to do with seeing our games. It had a lot to do with, at the tail end of games, what happens? 80 minutes, 75 minutes, or all the way to the 90th, or extra time, you find our African teams starts to struggle with holding the game.
So you feel Argentina was there for the taking?
If you're 2 goals up and we're hitting 75 minutes, that's one of the things you want in football. There is no way. If you ask Argentina, As of when the game was 75th minute, which position would they want to be? A weaker Egyptian team with two goals lead, or a strong Argentine team trailing by 2-0? They want to be on the Egyptian side. Because 2-0, you need to work to equalize, score one, and then work hard to get two before you now even start talking about, winning or, taking the game to. So nobody wants to be in Argentine's position as of the time where they were 2 goals down. What happened? I keep saying it where I was, watching this game. I said, if Argentina gets a goal, panic button will be pressed by Egypt. And that was simple.
There was a momentum shift.
It was completely. I saw how Lionel Messi stayed, in that thick area where, the Egyptian parked the bus, and he was giving intricate passes. All they were doing was continue to make the movements until a goal comes in. If a goal comes in, that movement will be a worry, because there will be panic in the Egyptian team. And that was simply what happened. The moment that goal went in, different type of things starts to happen. I kudos them. They gave a good fight. And also considering the fact that they've hardly been here, look at their history at the World Cup, but you're a top team. See, I said it here the last time. I said one of the reasons why it looks like teams are playing better football today, the world has become very, very global. We're talking about Curacao the other day. Curacao shares border with Netherlands, so they have a lot of their players playing in Eredivisie. So the moment they go to their national team, it seems like you're watching a team B of the Netherlands. So they should give teams problem, because everybody travels now. Look at the Nigerian team, South African team, Congo team. Everybody travels, plays in the top leagues. In fact, there is no more looking at, if you're not a Brazilian, we can't pay this much. People pay for any talent from anywhere, whichever island, whichever place you're coming from. And that's why today we find teams, stepping up and playing better in the national team.
Before we leave this matter altogether, I'm very sure I'll get prompted if they want us to change direction. But we've talked about what you alluded to as the naivety, quote unquote, of the Egyptians. But is there any way to downplay what the Argentines achieved? Because there has to be something about you to come from 2 goals down in a game of that magnitude and still get it done with 15 minutes to go, doing it under 90 minutes.
You can't take it away from them. Amongst friends, just as the game ended, I said, this is the hallmark of a good team. The last game against Curacao, it happened in a different way, but the 2 scoreline were the same. You scored one, Cabo Verde. They scored 1, Cabo Verde equalized. They scored 2, Cabo Verde equalized, and then they had to get the 3rd goal, late in extra time. This one, they were 2 goals down, and then they had to do. Good teams always find a way. There is never 2 games that are the same. You can even say Egypt, maybe a bit higher when it comes to kind of football compared to Cabo Verde, and maybe that's why they went 2 goals up against this Argentine team. But they rallied round. They got, what they needed, and that's what top teams are. The Argentine teams, I think what I've observed with them, you get as good as you bring. So many times, maybe 3-4 games we've watched them, and you will most likely be like, there is nothing so special about this Argentine team. They just find a way to get past the line. And that's the hallmark of a top team. And if you go back to teams that won, probably the World Cup, go to Spain 2010, it's not like they played the most exceptional football. Just find a way to cross the line. 8 games, cross the line in 8 games, then you're home and dry.
Before we talk about other games, 30 seconds if you can. No disrespect to the Argentines, but do you feel they probably would have been able to stage this kind of comeback against some of the teams we consider to be potential winners of the World Cup, Spain, France? Do you think it's a function of the opposition, or this Argentine team is good to do it against any of those sides that I mentioned?
I think it's a function of the opposition. I see, that's why, it takes us back to how, Africans have handled some of these games. I think Argentines, maybe you look at them, leading England 2-0. Can they make it back? Even Norway, can they make it back? Spain, you don't even want to go to France. If France leads you 2-0 in this competition, I don't care whichever team you are, you're as good as dead. So I think it's a function of the opponent they had against them. Not taking anything away from the Argentine side, but they will never go through this route with any of these top teams I just mentioned, the likes of Spain, France, England. I put Norway in there. So I think the African teams, just maybe made a mess of what was already theirs. Senegal comes to mind every time, I want to talk about this Egypt, Argentina.
All right. Kane Idris giving us his thoughts on what seems to be very close now, yet so far. The Egyptians probably making it to the last 8. It didn't happen. We'll have to wait for another 4 years to see. But of course, as Kane Idris also rightly mentioned, they surpassed whatever they have achieved at the World Cup before now, which is getting to the knockout stages. All right, round of 16 results. And this, in my book, is an upset. The first one we're going to talk about. Erling Haaland inspired Norway, defeated the most successful team at the World Cup, Brazil's Seleção. Erling Haaland scoring twice and, of course, defeated Brazil. Mexico gave a good fight. At the end of the day, the Three Lions came out on top 3-2. Portugal and Spain, we always knew that there weren't going to be too many goals in this one, and true to what we expected, it was just one goal, and Spain defeated Portugal in that one. The United States, in spite of all the noise about Folarin Balogun and what he generated, it didn't matter. Belgium got the job done. Hammered co-host United States 4-1. And of course, the game that just finished in probably less than 2 hours ago. This game, we're talking about Argentina defeating Egypt. All right, so those are some of the round of 16 results, matches that have been played. Kane Idris, let me get your thoughts quickly. I don't know where we want to start, but just quickly do a wrap. In your book, Norway, Brazil, an upset?
Big upset. But why it's an upset is the history. Brazil, there is pedigree. There is a reason why they are the most successful team at the World Cup. The Samba boys.
But the way the Brazilians have played.
Whenever the Samba boys get into competition, they are favorites.
But the way they played in this tournament, I'm not sure anybody will be surprised.
Yes. It is not an upset. In fact, when I heard people putting them as one of the favorite, I never put them as one of the favorite going into this competition, because I always say, the moment I heard that Martinelli is in their team, Ryan is in their team, I just knew this is not the kind of Brazil that we talk about. And when the game kicked off, when the competition kicked off, for every game they've played, there's nothing special about our Brazil. And I love what Norway did. Norway exposed every weakness that they have. The midfield is nothing to write home about. No disrespect to the likes of Casemiro, Paqueta, but it is nothing compared to the kind of midfields we see in this competition. So they were well exposed. Imagine in probably a year or so, I saw Martin Odegaard over 2 games, enjoying the best of time in the midfield against Cote d'Ivoire, against Brazil. So I think that was an upset because of pedigree, but it's not an upset looking at what you've done in this competition. And then I like it when you make use of your X factor. Solot, Odegaard, Erling Haaland. Right. These are some of the X factors in this team, and they made use of these players. Also Oscar Bob coming in. England against Mexico. I already picked England, but I wanted to see a game, and I saw a football match. Probably that was the best game in the round of 16. The Colombia game is still ongoing, but this Mexico-England game, crazy.
Let me pause you, Kane Idris. I'm told we have PoliticsToday Johnson with us now. Badak, greetings to you. Thanks for joining us on the show.
Good evening, Yemi. Good evening, Nigerians. Good evening, everyone in the studio. I'm still trying to catch my breath after what was an absolute cracker of a game between Argentina and Egypt. A part of me is very, very sad for African teams, because that theme of them going into the lead, in this case, Egypt actually even established what you would consider a very healthy lead, a 2-goal lead, going into the final 10, 11 minutes of the game, only for them to blow it. Earlier in the competition, we had seen Senegal do exactly the same thing against Belgium in a game where they were dominant, established a 2-goal lead as well. They blew it. And you can go on and on and on in the group stages. Ivory Coast against Germany, a game in which they were dominant, they blew it. So that recurring theme, makes me sad a little bit. But I'm a big, big fan of Lionel Messi. As you can see, I'm wearing an Argentina jersey with Lionel Messi at the back of it. And again, that man, mercurial, majestic, at 39, misses a penalty in the first half, and with maybe 15 minutes on the clock, decided that he was going to grab the game by the scruff of the neck and make things happen, make magic happen. And as usual, he provided the assist and followed it up with a fantastic finish for the equalizer, his 8th goal in the competition. I asked myself, had Messi scored the 2 penalties that he's missed in this competition, are we talking about a 39-year-old guy sitting on 10 World Cup goals after just about 4.5 games? Remember, the final game of the group stages, he came off the bench in the second half, meaning he played just half the game or less than half the game. So in 4.5 games, at the highest level of international football, you are telling me that it makes sense that a 39-year-old potentially could have been sitting on 10 goals over that span of games. It's just incredible. It's unbelievable. It's unfathomable. After the last World Cup, we thought, oh, that's it for Lionel Messi. But he's just redefined his game. He's recreated himself now. He doesn't beat 3, 4, 5 people at a go anymore, conserves energy, walks around for the most part, always scanning. But when it comes to delivering the crucial moments in a football game, there is none better, at least on the evidence of goals scored, goals created in this competition. And of course, in today's game, he also went down in history by going one better than the legendary Diego Maradona on 9 assists and going into the history books as the player with the highest number of assists in the history of the competition, following breaking the goal scoring record in this same competition, a record he has now stretched to 21 goals. I'm sure Miroslav Klose must have been thinking, yes, I thought my record would be broken in this competition, but I didn't think that these guys would put such a huge gap. Messi and Kylian, that is. Now I think Kylian is on 19, Messi is on 21. These are just phenomenal athletes, particularly Messi, doing it at age 39. Again, I'm looking for the right moment to catch my breath after what was a wonderful game, one of the games of the competition. And I agree with Bolu, I think, that the Mexico-England game arguably was the best game we had seen before this game, but this game rivals it for sheer drama, quality, and just that incredible comeback, which Argentina had never done before in the history of the World Cup.
Kenny Idris, we're about to listen to Donald Trump, but I want to quickly get your thoughts. There's a lot of noise, a lot of angles to look at what happened, and a lot of people said, look, this wasn't ethical, political interference in football, it's not good. But you also have the United States coach, Mauricio Pochettino, saying he doesn't understand the noise, he doesn't understand it looks like hate to him.
It favors him, so.
So what is up? But I want to quickly get your thoughts on all of this. And do you buy the explanation by FIFA?
No, never will I. Never will I. There is no way I would see that. And you know, the moment that pronouncement was made, it took me back some, say, 3 months, 4 months, where, Senegal was rescinded as the champion of Africa, and then, to Morocco. Hey, this is football. That's why if you see some people talk about VAR, we don't want VAR and all of that. I love VAR.
Let's play devil's advocate. Let's play devil's advocate. And I'm going to hack bad at this as well. A lot of people feel that in the first place, that maybe that red card was a bit harsh.
Okay.
But some will also say rules are rules.
Simple.
Whether it was fair or not.
Mistakes are made during games by referees. We've seen it, apologies after the game. And I can remember a famous quote by Jurgen Klopp. He said, do not apologize to me. Tell me we'll replay the game. But that game was never replayed. It went on, that point is gone and all of that. This is what football gives you. Diego Armando Maradona, people knew just some hours after that there was a hand to the ball and then it led to a walk-up win. There was never a callback. It went on and we keep talking. In fact, it's in the folklore of World Cup history. Like we talk about that moment as one of the special moments of World Cup. Why should we? This is a red card to a player. The referee, probably you call it, it was a wrong call and all of that. Hey, it just tells the story that has been emanating in recent time. That there is something in there where, at the start of the World Cup, some people disenfranchised from coming in and all of that. Gianni Infantino saying, I cannot tell any country how to run, how to allow people into their countries and all of that. It bettered a whole lot of stories because anytime you're a host of a country, you relax your rules. I'm not saying you should allow every Tom, Dick, and Harry, but we know how, even Qatar 2022, we know how uptight these countries are, these Arab nations and all of that. But they helped. You're the one calling visitors to come in, and that's what it is. But this will never.
In a nutshell, you don't
buy. Never be bought by me.
You
never,
don't buy
never.
the explanation.
And Mauricio Pochettino should shut up. If he were to be against his team, he wouldn't say, there is a bias.
Is the backlash justified?
Very, very. In fact, it's too little.
Okay.
We should hear more.
All right, let's listen to the U.S. president have his say on the matter.
Our best player or one of our best players, a very vital player, and he gave him a red card. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't think it meant much. Then I started hearing that means he can't play in the next game, at least in the next game. I said, boy, that's a big, if it happened to another player, it would have been unfair. But when they take your best player, or just about, they have some great players, and they say you can't play, that's very unfair. That's, it's one thing to penalize somebody for the game, but how do you penalize them for a game that hasn't been played yet? It's very unfair. You can't do that. Yes, I asked for a review by FIFA. I spoke to a man who's highly respected, and by the way, whose level of respect has gone up tenfold. And I think it's a terrible, if they wouldn't allow, a top player, maybe the best, maybe among the best players on the team, to play, I think it would have had a big stain. And I related just that feel. I didn't tell him what to do. I can't tell him what to do, but and I don't believe he made the decision. I think it was a committee that made the decision, and they made the right decision because, number one, it wasn't a foul. And you want to see a game with your best players. You don't want to say, how would you feel if I took, we take Messi out? Look, he ran into somebody. Or we took Ronaldo, you bunked into somebody, we're going to take you out of a game. He's great. Or Harry Kane, we're going to take you out of the game, Harry, because you happen to hit somebody a little bit harder than you can't do that.
All right, Bada, there's a lot to unpack, and I wish we had time. Now, first off, FIFA is saying, look, no, it wasn't because he said so. Donald Trump has made it clear. I called Gianni Infantino. Gianni Infantino is saying, well, yeah, he called me, but that's not the reason. There's an independent body. They looked at all of this, and yeah. Then there's also the school of thought that sometimes leaning or taking advantage of the relationship you have, there's really nothing wrong with it. So how do you? There's a lot, but I want you to look at those two angles, and I will get your thoughts.
There are facts and there are nuances, but the context and the fact of the case is that football is a sport that is governed by clear rules, and those rules were contravened here, and the process that ordinarily this sort of matter should follow was not the process that was followed. The president of the host country cannot call FIFA president and say, I think that our player was unfairly red carded. The process that typically should follow is that the team that felt had done by the call should have put in an appeal, and then the FIFA disciplinary committee would then sit, consider the merit of that appeal, and then decide whether the card was worthy of being rescinded or if the suspension should stick. But in this case, neither of those things or none of those things happened. It was a clear case of Donald Trump hearing that Folarin Balogun wasn't going to be eligible to play. Obviously, you can tell that he's got a big limitation on his knowledge of football when he was saying He didn't even understand the ramification of the red card until he was told that it meant that the player wouldn't play in the next game. And as a result of that, he was alarmed that, the host country's chances of qualifying or progressing would be significantly diminished if one of their best players didn't play. And as a result, he decided to press a button that he thought he could activate, which is Gianni Infantino, and utilize some of his influence. There is no place for stuff like that in sport, in organized sport, not at this level. It's embarrassing. It's splashed fresh, eggs all over FIFA's face in the last few days. They've reduced themselves to global mockery. They've reduced themselves to amidst what I believe is, from an organization and quality of football standpoint, is one of the greatest World Cups in human history. They've sort of taken away from all of that positive or the positive feeling that people have around the World Cup with this singular action. And in hindsight, I'm sure they're kicking themselves, because at the end of the day, Folarin Balogun's inclusion had absolutely no material effect or impact on the game. He barely had a kick. I think that particular decision, if anything, even spurred the Belgians earn much more than they seemed the most motivated so far in the competition, and delivered what was their best performance so far. And they deservedly won by 4. It could have been 6, it could have been 7. So it was the wrong thing to do. There is no amount of justification or attempt to justify that is going to make it make sense. It just doesn't make a shred of sense. And FIFA was wrong. Donald Trump was overreaching, overbearing, which is typical of him.
All right. Okay, the other angles to this matter. Let's listen to the coach of the United States and, of course, the fans, their opinions on the outcome of the game and, of course, the intervention by the U.S. President Donald Trump.
We were not the same team that during the tournament showed the quality. Very bad day. Wasn't our day in a collective and individual way. And we need to accept that sometimes this type of thing happen, but in a tournament like a World Cup, when that happens, you have not another chance. You have no net. I feel so disappointed with too many people, because they can put politics and can put, manipulation. Talk about the ethic, the integrity. I am disappointed in a personal way, because I think we should talk about that is the possibility to apply for that situation. Okay, like happened with another player or another, team, but that is not an excuse to say, oh, we didn't perform because of that. That is not true.
President Trump should not have interfered, and because President Trump interfered, karma does its thing. And I think the team would have rallied together to support the red card that should have been served, because the red card's a red card.
Today was a heartbreak, but the better team did win. We kind of we were outcoached, outperformed. We didn't have it in us. But this is still the farthest we have gone since, 2016?
We are rooting for whoever. We're just loving all the energy and all the fun that everybody's having. And USA, we're sold on the World Cup.
I think overall I'm so impressed with how the U.S. did. I think that a lot of people weren't anticipating us making it as far as we did. I think especially with Pulisic coming off of an injury, and now we don't know what is going on with him as well, because he has to limp off of the field. That's a little worrisome, but overall, especially since we're in the host city, we're hosting England as well. We're hosting Argentina still. I think that's super exciting, and there's still a lot to look forward to and a lot of good games to still come.
All right, so the angles to the matter, the U.S. coach and the fans. All right, let's talk about what possibly or what potentially could be Cristiano Ronaldo's last game for Portugal. It's not official yet, nothing has been said. Kehinde Idris, Spain, Portugal. It seemed in the pre-match, Cristiano Ronaldo just felt somehow, and he said, look, I'll have comments after the game, because he knew if they lost, a lot of questions will be asked about whether or not he's going to return, even though he has refrained from saying that. But I want to get your thoughts on the game. I don't think the two sides gave us what we wanted to see.
Yeah, it was a poor game.
But Spain carried the day.
Yeah, Spain carried the day, and from the UEFA Nations League loss, I think Spain are still, carrying that. They needed a revenge, and this was a good one. At least taking a trophy off, a team, a trophy they really, really, wanted, not in their cabinet. So, but in all, Portugal, Spain, I don't think, having to hear those, two superpowers in football. Heavyweights, and they couldn't give us anything special. For Cristiano Ronaldo, sometimes I always feel maybe Cristiano forgets his status, his level. There are some things you shouldn't say. There are some discussion or conversation you shouldn't get in. And I think at the press briefing, I think that was, he didn't need all of that. I feel it was even too much Euros,
there was no need for that.
Too much distraction for yourself. And it's also pressure on you. For every time you say that, yes, you're a big performer. In fact, Cristiano Ronaldo thrives on situations like that. But you also consider you're 41 now. You need a lot of distraction off you for you to play football. And you can see that with, players like Lionel Messi, Harry Kane, and Kylian Mbappe. But that was Spain doing the needful to cross the line. But it was so disappointing a game. We thought it was going to be fireworks. And I'm particularly disappointed in Portugal, some players in Portugal. I think they came to this World Cup with the best midfield. And we always say, football starts and ends with the midfield. Midfield dictates everything, whether it's defensive game you want to play, whether it's attacking game, the midfield. And then you came in with the three best, or one of the best.
Or the best combination.
The best combination. Bruno, Vitinha, and then João Neves. And for me, they never completely influenced any game.
All right.
They just glide by game. Even the game they scored 5, it wasn't a case of detection from their midfield.
All right.
I think leave Ronaldo, leave any other player, go to that midfield and really criticize them. They didn't pull Portugal.
All right, let's see if Bada agrees. Were you expecting the game to, light up the space? It didn't. And Cristiano Ronaldo's comments after the game, was he too emotional? Your thoughts?
I think clearly, I'll answer the second question. Quite clearly, Ronaldo defines himself within a team sport by his individual achievements. If a team loses, for instance, but he scores, you probably see him delight momentarily in the fact that he scored and maybe reference it at a later time. Say, he scores in a game, the team loses. If he sits down with Piers Morgan, he could probably say stuff like, I did my bit, they just didn't do their bit. And it's just sort of statements lacking in emotional intelligence that he made before the game when he was talking about, everyone hates me, you guys have been plotting my downfall for 21 years. How do you express those sort of sentiments to the press before a very, very important knockout game at the FIFA World Cup, when you should be focusing on the team? Even if you feel genuinely that you're being persecuted unnecessarily, you should leave those up until later, maybe after the World Cup wraps, and talk about being unfairly treated, or leave it to your fans to spring to your defense and make a case for you. But I think it's consumed about the records, and it's always been, and none of us can deny that. It's about the goal scoring records, it's about the titles, and so for me it was very disappointing, but not surprising that he came and said, I won. Before me, Portugal won 0 trophies. I won 3 trophies, so I can retire a happy man. Put yourself in the shoes of a Bernardo Silva, a Bruno Fernandes, some of these other characters that have been there over the years who played key and pivotal roles in them winning the Euros and winning 2 Nations League. How would you feel if one player, even if he was the one who scored the larger percentage of the goals, and he didn't? Ronaldo, for all of his obsession with goal scoring, has never been top scorer in any international competition, has never been MVP of any international competition. The last 2 UEFA Nations League that they won, the first one, Bernardo Silva was the MVP. The second one, it was Nuno Mendes that was the MVP. So how are you arrogating all of the success to yourself? How are you personalizing success that was achieved by the collective? It just leaves a sour taste in the mouth And I'm sure that his colleagues don't like it, but they wouldn't express it. And in a way, to talk about the game, I feel like Spain were always going to control a lot of the possession, but because they lack the cutting edge, they don't have a number 9. If they had a Morata, for instance, even on his last legs, it would have made a difference. And that much was emphasized by what happened when Ferran Torres came on, when Mikel Merino came on, and they started to occupy the centre backs, and they started to create space and running behind of them, and that's how one of the decisive goal came. But the Iberian Derby, as it's called, in recent times, has always been sort of decided by the odd goal, because these guys have, there's a lot of tension, there's a lot of pride, and national pride on it goes beyond the football. If you understand the political, history of the two countries and their the way the two societies see themselves on the good days as cousins, on the bad days as eternal, arch rivals. So the game didn't deliver the fireworks, but at the end of the day, I thought the Spaniards deserved to go through. They were the better side. They controlled the tempo of the game. And as Kennedy says, the disappointment with the Portuguese midfield is probably not unconnected with the structure of the team and the way that Roberto Martinez sets them up. So Argentina and Portugal have similar problems in that they literally off the ball, they play with 10 men, because Ronaldo and Lionel Messi hardly ever participate. They're not pressing, they're not closing down, they're not doing any of those defensive work. But unlike the Argentines, the Portuguese do not necessarily try to compensate for that by ensuring that all the rest of the team, the 9 other outfield players, run their socks off to compensate for that, like the Argentinians did. And even for Argentina, you can see the number of goals that they are conceding, because they're literally carrying a passenger when they are off the ball. Today they considered 2. Against Cape Verde, they considered 2. They are conceding goals, and if nothing shifts from a structure standpoint, if they don't maybe drop their line and maybe play in a lower block and make it more defensively solid, they will not win this competition, because they are carrying a passenger. And that was even more emphasized with the Portuguese team, because Ronaldo was sitting in the box waiting for service that never came, because they were getting outnumbered. The opposing teams were creating overloads in areas where Ronaldo should have been occupying. And so the game didn't deliver on quality. The Spaniards won it deservedly, and we have definitely seen Ronaldo for the final time at the FIFA World Cup.
All right. Even though we're waiting to see him officially confirm that.
Ask a Messi fan about Ronaldo.
All right. So, Katie, just we're pressed for time. We're in the dying moments of the show, but these are the confirmed quarterfinal fixtures. I want to get your thoughts quickly. On Thursday, France will take on Morocco. Spain will take on Belgium. In a minute or two, if you can, I want you to quickly take a stab at this. And if we consider what we have seen, the game may look tough, but it looks like the stronger sides always find a way to get the job done.
If you take out my job, which is, follow every sporting, event, and then, take out the fact that you just want to see this game, I wouldn't see Spain-Belgium. I wouldn't say it. It would be another, very tight game. But France-Morocco, as an African, of course, one way or the other, you just want, history back in. But this French team, we've asked that question time and time again. Who will stop this team? It looks like a team that is unstoppable, especially if you think of the front four. Not going to the bench here, to the front four, Douye, Dembele, Mbappe, and then
Olise.
you have Olise, who is going to stop them. But Morocco have shown that it can be a very disciplined team. One of the ways you can beat this French team is to be disciplined in every department. Morocco have shown that. Will they go ahead and execute it at the highest level? I don't know. Reason why I will see this game. I think it's going to be proper end-to-end stuff, and it's going to be very interesting. But at the end of the day, I think France have got enough in them. France are not just relying on that they're attacking, front. They've got a very solid, balanced team. Go to the midfield, go to the defense. I think probably the place where you can take a little something off is the midfield. I think the defense is also pretty decent. So you've got a very good team, and that's why, I feel they might just edge, Morocco. But I don't know what Morocco will bring on the day top-level discipline to play this team. Maybe they can scale through, but I'll stick with France. For the Belgium-Spain game, I've not seen Belgium play anything in this competition. There's nothing special about them for me, so, I'll go with Spain. Probably slim win.
All right. Let me go to Bada. Even though we're pressed for time, if you can do this for me in a minute. France and Morocco, Spain and Belgium. Where do you think the pendulum will swing in these two matches?
I think France will prove too strong, too much for Morocco. Unfortunately, if that happens, that will be the demise of the last standing African team. We saw this fixture last World Cup in the semi-finals. The French won it. They are even a much stronger, more balanced team, like Kehinde says this time. So they'll win it. It'll be close. But in the attacking third is where Morocco will be lacking, because Saibari is ruled out of the competition. He's not going to play. I don't think they're going to have enough chances to win it. But of course, the French have been averaging, except the game against Paraguay, they've been averaging 3 goals every game. And in the other game, Belgium have come as far as they could. I'm afraid is the end of the road for them. They will be knocked out, and I think it's going to be pretty straightforward. No drama, no extra time, no penalties. Those games will be won in regulation time.
All right, Bada Akindele Johnson, I want to thank you for your time on the show today. Hopefully we'll do this again some other time.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so that was Bada Akindele Johnson giving us his thoughts on the things happening in the fast-paced, money-speeding world of sports. And Kehinde Idris, I know you've been trying, as we try to end this segment and possibly end the show, I know you've been trying to take a sneak peek. Colombia and Switzerland, anything to report?
Still 0-0. We knew this was going to be tight. The Colombians don't play the most enjoyable football to watch. They just, a very dogged, compact team. And for Switzerland, they can be one of those teams at the World Cup level to frustrate any team, they go up against. So I knew it was going to be tight, and the scoreline is already telling the story. But we've seen this World Cup where teams blow up in the second half. First half so tight, probably, checking out each other. And then in the second half, we see everything, go into crazy drive. So maybe this is what we'll get. But, looking at Colombia in that mix, I think it might just be a slim one. One, probably if a team scores one, it can get the other team jet, or maybe 2-1 would end, this game at the end of the day.
All right, with the end of the World Cup segment, we've come to the end of the show. That's a wrap on the show. But first, I want to thank Kehinde Idris for his time on the show today. As usual, the conversation doesn't end. We take it out of the studio. But thank you for coming. Hopefully, we'll do this again some other time.
Hopefully, and it's great to be here. But hopefully, Ronaldo doesn't see this show. Bada, you're in trouble. It's good to be here.
All right. That's the show today. We hope you've enjoyed everything we've been able to bring to you. It's been a fun ride. It was fun doing this with you. Join us again tomorrow for another fun-filled, entertaining journey on the world of sports. Thank you for allowing us into your homes without knocking. It's a privilege we will never take for granted. I'm Yemi Adebayo. Bye-bye now.